The woman stood in his doorway at sunset like a ghost, asking permission to haunt him. And when she whispered, "I'm not worth saving," Silas McKenna's face went white as the sun-bleached skull nailed to his barn. She was dust and bone-thin shoulders, hands clutched so tight her knuckles went the color of old ivory. Her eyes stayed aimed at the floorboards like they were the only jury that mattered. The dress hung gray and patched, cut short and uneven where she'd hacked it herself with something dull. Behind Silas, the lamp burned in the east window. Habit he didn't think about anymore. 3 years of lighting it every evening because Rebecca used to, and he'd forgotten how to stop. He didn't speak, just looked at her, standing there in the threshold, half in the copper light, half in the coming dark. Looked at her the way a man looks at his own grave when he ain't ready to lie down in it yet. She swayed once, didn't fall. He stepped back, held the door. She didn't move. Caught between leaving and staying, between one more night walking and whatever price shelter cost. The lamp flickered behind him. The desert went quiet. She still didn't cross. She wouldn't cross the threshold until he turned his back and walked away, like trust was something you had to steal when nobody was watching. Silas heard her boots scrape wood behind him, heard the hitch in her breathing. He kept moving toward the water bucket, kept his shoulders turned, gave her the space to decide she'd done it herself. 3 steps in and her knees went. He caught her before his brain caught up. Pure reflex, ranch reflex, same way you catch a foal before it breaks itself. His hands found her elbows and she made a sound like a kicked dog. Tried to wrench free but didn't have the strength. Easy. He set her down fast, backed off 3 feet like she was barbed wire. Easy. She pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them, made herself small against the wall. Wouldn't look at him. Her whole body shook, not crying, just emptied out. You hurt? Nothing. You sick? Still nothing. He went to the water bucket, filled a tin cup, brought it halfway to her and stopped. Set it on the floor between them, slid it forward with his boot. She stared at it. He walked to the other room, counted to 20, heard her move, heard her drink in gulps that sounded like drowning. When he came back, the cup was on the floor, still half full. She'd taken what she needed, not what he'd offered. The difference mattered to her somehow. Got a barn out back, he said. Clean hay, warmer than it looks. She didn't answer. Can't have you in here. He said it flat, no meanness, just fact. Ain't proper. You're young enough to be... He stopped, didn't finish. Her eyes flicked to him for the first time, trying to read if not proper meant protection or something worse. He looked past her, out the window. Town talks. You stay in here, they'll say things. Barn keeps it clean. For you or for me? First words she'd said besides that whisper at the door. Her voice came out rough as gravel roads, like she'd spent years not using it. Both. She almost nodded. The barn loft was exactly what he'd said. Clean hay, old quilt that smelled like cedar and campfire, water bucket, kerosene lantern already lit. He'd put it together fast while she sat against the cabin wall, and now she stood at the bottom of the ladder, looking up at it like it was a test she'd failed before. Latches on the inside, Silas said. She turned. The door, latches on your side, not mine. Something shifted in her face. Not relief exactly, but the absence of the thing she'd been braced for. She put one hand on the ladder. There ain't no... No. He cut her off before she had to finish the question. No, ma'am. The ma'am almost broke her. He could see it. Some last thread of whatever she used to be, recognizing that somebody still thought the word applied. She climbed. He waited until he heard the latch slide home. Then he walked back to the cabin, sat on the porch, and didn't move for 4 hours. Dawn came the color of old copper. Silas stood at the stove, doing what he'd done every morning for 3 years, poured 2 cups of coffee, set them across from each other at the table, drank one, let the other go cold. Halfway through his cup, he stopped, stared at the second one. Rebecca was dead. He knew that. Knew it every morning. But his hands kept making 2 anyway, like some part of him was still waiting for her to come in from feeding the chickens. Still 13 and alive in his. He picked up the ghost cup, walked it to the barn, set it outside the loft door without knocking. Went back to the porch. Hour later, he checked. The cup had been moved, 3 inches to the left, turned sideways. She'd touched it, looked at it, decided something. But she hadn't drunk it. He picked it up, still warm from the morning sun, but full. Back in the cabin, he poured it out, rinsed the cup, set it on the shelf. His hands were shaking. Hadn't shaken in 3 years. Not since the day he'd cut Rebecca down from the barn rafter and carried her to the house and laid her on the table and realized the coffee he'd poured that morning would be the last one she'd ever ignore. Now they shook again. He sat down hard in the chair, put his head in his hands, and tried to remember why he'd opened the door last night. Tried to remember what he thought he was doing. The woman in the barn hadn't asked for saving. He had no right to try. But when she'd whispered, "I'm not worth saving," in that broken glass voice, something in him had gone white and cold because he'd heard Rebecca say the same thing. Not out loud, but in the way she'd stopped meeting his eyes, stopped eating, stopped being a child who believed her father would protect her. And he'd done nothing. Told himself she was being dramatic. Told himself 14-year-old girls imagine things. Told himself the ranch hand was a good worker and she was probably just... He stood up fast, shoved the chair back. No, not going there. Not today. The woman in the barn was not Rebecca. She was just someone who'd walked too far and needed a place to stop. That was all. That was all this was. He looked at the empty cup on the shelf, wondered why it felt like he was the one being saved. For 3 days, she didn't speak, and he didn't ask. And somehow, that made it the first honest conversation she'd had in years. Day 2, she found bread and cheese on the porch rail at sunrise. Took it after he'd gone to check fences. Day 3, same. He never watched her take it, never asked if she ate it. Just left it and rode off. Day 4, she swept the porch. He came back at noon, saw the boards clean, the dust gone, his boots lined up neat by the door instead of kicked where he'd left them. Looked at the barn loft. Couldn't see her, but knew she was watching. He nodded once at nothing, went inside. She kept sweeping things. Not because he asked, he didn't, but because sitting still meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering, and she'd come too far to drown in that now, so she fed the chickens, hauled water for the horse, found the mending pile, and started working through it with needle and thread she found in a tin by the stove. Every repair she made was a day she could stay without owing words. Day 6, early morning, she came to the porch for coffee. Didn't take the cup, just sat on the top step, 3 feet from where he sat in his chair. The cup steamed between them on the rail. They watched the sun come up. He drank his coffee. She didn't touch hers. After 20 minutes, she went back to the barn. He looked at the full cup, still hot. Progress, he figured. Proximity without panic. Day 7, an old man appeared. Alma saw him coming from the loft window. Apache, moving slow on a paint horse, leading a pack mule. She pulled back from the window, pressed against the wall, stopped breathing. Silas walked out to meet him. They spoke too quiet for her to hear. The old man handed Silas something wrapped in cloth. Silas nodded. The old man looked toward the barn, not at it exactly, just in its direction, like he could feel her watching. Then he sat down on the porch, didn't say anything, just sat. Silas sat too. 20 minutes of nothing, no words. Just 2 men on a porch watching the heat shimmer off the hardpan. Finally, the old man stood, got on his horse, rode away. Alma waited until the dust settled, climbed down, found Silas on the porch unwrapping the cloth. Dried herbs, tea maybe. Who was that? First question she'd asked that wasn't about survival. Samuel Gray Wolf runs the trading post east of here. He know about me? Reckon so. He gonna tell? Silas looked at her. Samuel don't tell nobody nothing. That's why he's still alive. She processed that. Sat down on the step, same spot as morning. He bring you medicine? Tea. For your stomach. She went still. How'd he... Samuel knows things. Silas set the herbs down. Ain't gonna judge you for 'em neither. She pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them. Everybody judges. Not him. Long silence. You judge me? Silas looked at his hands. Rope scarred, wind cracked. The kind of hands that fix broken things 'cause they can't fix the things that matter. No, ma'am. Why not? Ain't got the right. She laughed. Short, bitter sound. That ain't never stopped nobody before. He didn't argue. She was right, and they both knew it. Day 8, she started mending fence with him. He didn't ask for help. She just showed up with the wire cutters and an extra pair of work gloves she'd found in the barn. Stood there until he nodded at the post that needed splicing. Her hands shook holding the cutters. Ain't gonna bite? He said. Everything bites. He paused mid-twist on the wire. Fair enough. They worked in silence another hour. She watched how he did it, the angle, the pressure, the way he checked it twice before moving on. Tried to copy it. Got it wrong. He showed her again, without saying she'd messed up. Middle of the afternoon, she said, You got a name? Silas. I know. Town told me. He looked at her then. What else they tell you? That you don't talk to nobody? That your wife died? That you ain't left this ranch except for supplies in 3 years? Wife didn't die. Never had one. He went back to the fence. But the rest is mostly right. She waited. He didn't offer more. I'm Alma. I know. He echoed her words back, small smile there and gone. I asked Samuel. He tell you anything else? Said you walked 60 miles in 4 days. Said you got grit? She looked at her blistered hands. Or just nowhere else to go. Maybe both. They worked until sunset. She was slow, clumsy, but she stayed. When they walked back, he said, You hungry? I'm good. Didn't ask if you wanted food. Asked if you're hungry. She stopped. Looked at him straight for maybe the second time since she'd arrived. Yeah. Then come inside. I'll cook. She followed him to the cabin door. He went in. She stood at the threshold again, same place as the first night. He turned. You can come in, Alma. Door's open. She looked at the lamp burning in the window. That for somebody too? He went quiet. Long beat. Was. They coming back? No. She stepped inside, slow, like testing ice. Sat at the table, in the chair across from where he'd set the ghost cup every morning. He made beans and cornbread. Put a plate in front of her. She stared at it. Ain't poisoned, he said. I know. But her hands stayed in her lap. He started eating. Didn't watch her. Just ate normal. Like her being there wasn't strange. She picked up the fork. Ate slow, careful. Like someone who'd learned not to draw attention. Halfway through, he said, You cook? Some. You can use the stove. Anytime. She nodded. They finished in silence. When she stood to leave, he said, Alma. She turned. You don't gotta earn every meal. You can just eat. Her throat worked, didn't say anything, went to the door, stopped. Tomorrow, she said, I'll make breakfast. Small thing, but it landed like a promise. After she left, Silas sat at the table staring at the empty chair. First time in 3 years someone had sat there and lived. She started pouring 2 cups of coffee every morning. And when she slid one across to him without a word, Silas realized she'd been watching him mourn someone she'd never met. Day 10. He came in from the barn to find her at the stove, his old tin pot in her hand, 2 cups already on the table, steam rising from both. She didn't look at him, just set the pot down, and took the chair, Rebecca's chair, like it was hers now. He stood there holding his hat. She pushed 1 cup toward his side, wrapped both hands around the other. He sat, stared at the coffee she'd poured for him, the ghost ritual reversed, her hands doing what his had done alone for 3 years. Who's the second cup for? She asked. Long pause. Desert wind against the window. Was for someone. They coming back? No. She lifted her cup, drank, claimed it. Then why you keep pouring? He picked up his coffee, held it without drinking. Don't know. Habit, I reckon. Habit's just another word for haunted. That landed true. He looked at her and she looked back. First time their eyes met straight on and held. Yeah, he said. Reckon it is. She drank again, set the cup down, careful. I ain't her. I know. Well, you sure? 'Cause sometimes you look at me like, I know you ain't her. He said it firm. You're here. She ain't. I know the difference. Alma studied him, trying to decide if that was true or just what he needed to believe. What happened to her? He set his cup down, looked at his hands. Daughter, Rebecca. She was 14. Alma went still. Was. 3 years ago. His voice came out flat, empty. Found her in the barn. The air changed. Alma knew that tone, the one people used when they couldn't say the whole truth out loud. How? Rope. Single word, no decoration. Alma's breath caught. Yeah. Silence filled the room like water rising. Why? Silas's jaw worked. Ranch hand, She told me he was bothering her, said things, did things. He stopped, started again. I didn't believe her. Thought 14-year-old girls made up stories for attention. Alma's hands went white on the cup. Next morning she walked out to the barn. I figured she was feeding chickens. He looked at the window, not at her. Hour later I went looking. She'd used the rope from the hayloft. Jesus. I cut her down, carried her in, laid her right there. He nodded at the table between them. That's when I saw the coffee I'd poured her that morning. Still full. Still warm. Alma stood up fast, chair scraping. Looked at the table like she could see the ghost. That's why She couldn't finish. Every morning for 3 years. Pour 2 cups, drink 1. Let hers go cold. He finally looked at her. Until you showed up and sat in her chair, and I realized I was waiting for someone who ain't never coming back. She turned away, arms wrapped around herself. The ranch hand? Her voice came out rough. Fired him that day. Gave him 10 minutes to get off my land. That all? Should have killed him. Didn't. Don't know why. 'Cause you ain't a killer. Maybe I should be. She turned back. No, you shouldn't. They stood there 6 feet apart, both knowing what it cost to survive the people who should have protected you. That afternoon, Gray Wolf came again. Sat on the porch with Silas while Alma worked in the barn. She could hear them through the slats, their voices low, careful. She knows now, Silas said. Good. Truth sits better than secrets. Does it? For her it will. Gray Wolf poured tea from a clay pot he'd brought. For you, maybe not yet. Alma climbed down quiet, came around the side. Both men looked at her. Sit, Grey Wolf said, not asking. She sat on the step. He handed her tea. She took it, drank without asking what was in it. The door is always open here, Grey Wolf said. Alma looked at him. Doors close. They always do. Not this one. He nailed it open 3 years ago. Grey Wolf glanced at Silas. After she died, he couldn't shut it. Thought maybe she'd come back through if he left it wide enough. Silas stood up. Samuel, she should know. The old man's voice stayed calm. She's living in the house of a man who couldn't save his daughter. She has a right to know what ghosts she's sharing space with. Alma looked at Silas. He wouldn't meet her eyes. He blames himself, Grey Wolf continued. Thinks if he'd believed her, protected her, she'd still be here. That ain't, Silas started. It's true, Alma said quiet. Ain't it? Silas's hands curled into fists. Yeah. But then you think saving me makes up for it? I don't know what I think anymore. Grey Wolf stood, put a hand on Silas's shoulder. She is not Rebecca. One was to Alma, and you are not his second chance. You are your own story. He left them there. Night, porch, lamp burning. They sat in their usual spots, him in the chair, her on the step. Distance kept, but smaller now. You think people can start over? Alma asked the darkness. Don't know. Ain't tried yet. Why not? Didn't think I had the right. She picked at a splinter in the wood. Yeah, me neither. Stars wheeled overhead. Somewhere a coyote called. Maybe that's the problem, Silas said. Thinking we gotta earn it. Alma looked back at him. Earn what? A door that stays open. She turned that over. Everybody I ever knew, doors had prices. This one don't. How do you know? 'Cause I'm still waiting for you to walk through it instead of around it. She went quiet. Long beat. I'm scared, she said, barely whispered. Of what? That I'll believe you. And then I'll lose it. Silas leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Can't promise you won't lose it, Alma. Can't promise much of anything. But I can promise the door stays where it is. She pulled her knees up, rested her chin on them. Your daughter, she said. You miss her? Every day. Does it hurt? Yeah. Good, she said. He looked at her sharp. If it didn't hurt, she explained, she wouldn't matter. The hurtin' means she was real. Something in his chest cracked open. He nodded. Couldn't speak. They sat until the lamp burned low. She found the girl's room by accident, and when Silas saw her standing in the doorway holding Rebecca's dress, the word he screamed wasn't her name. Day 14, morning. Silas had ridden out to check the north fence line. Alma finished her coffee, washed both cups, stood in the cabin, looking at the closed door she'd noticed every day but never asked about. Just a door. Probably storage. Tools, maybe, or extra blankets. She turned the handle. The room stopped her breath. A child's room, frozen, bed made neat, quilt tucked tight, books stacked on a crate beside the pillow, dime novels, a Bible, a journal with a ribbon marking the last page she'd written, drawing on the wall, charcoal sketch of the ranch, a lamp in the window, the same lamp. Alma stepped in slow. Dust hung in the air like the room was holding its breath too. Dresser against the wall, top drawer open a crack. She pulled it. Dresses, small ones, 14-year-old sizes, all folded careful like someone meant to come back and wear them. One on top, gray calico, white collar, mended careful at the hem. The same dress she'd seen in the barn that first week, the one she'd touched and put back fast. Her hand reached before her brain caught up, lifted it out, held it against herself. It would have fit Rebecca at 14, it fit Alma at 19, same size, same shape. Her stomach turned. Behind her, boots on the porch, she tried to put it back, fumbled. It slipped from her hands to the floor. The door swung open. Silas stood there, saw her, saw the room, saw the dress, his face drained white. 3 seconds of frozen horror. Then he moved. Get out, she backed up. I didn't. Get out of there. Not angry, terrified. His hands shook, his whole body shook like something inside him was shattering in real time. She dropped the dress, stepped back into the main room. He came forward, grabbed the door, slammed it shut. Stood with his back against it, breathing hard. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't know. Didn't know what? That I had a daughter? That she's dead? His voice cracked. You knew. Samuel told you. I told you. I didn't know about the room. Well, now you do. He turned on her. Now you know I kept everything. Every goddamn thing. Her books, her drawings, her clothes. He stopped, looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Same size as you. Alma's throat closed. That's why you let me stay, she whispered. I look like her. No. I'm the same age she'd be now. Same size. Same. You ain't her. But you wish I was. The truth landed like a stone. You're trying to save her through me. Silas flinched like she'd hit him. That ain't. It is. Alma's voice shook. Every time you look at me, you see her. Every time you pour that coffee, every time you light that goddamn lamp, it ain't for me. It's for her. Oh, maybe. The word came out broken. Maybe at first, but there ain't no but. She grabbed her jacket from the chair. I ain't your second chance, Silas. I ain't your do-over. I know that. Do you? She turned on him. Or do you just need someone small enough to fit her dresses so you can pretend you saved her this time? That's not fair. No. What ain't fair is you making me think I mattered when all I am is a ghost you can touch. She went to the door. Where are you gonna go? Don't matter. She pulled it open. Anywhere but here. Alma, I can't be her for you. I can't. Her voice broke. I tried so hard to believe the door was real, that maybe someone wanted me for me, but it was never about me. It was always about her. She looked at the lamp burning in the window, walked to it. That for her too? Silas couldn't answer. Everything here is for a ghost. She reached for the lamp, hand going to the flame like she meant to blow it out. Silas caught her wrist. First time he'd touched her since the night she collapsed. Let go. No. You can't save dead people, Silas. I know. His hand shook around her wrist but didn't let go. I know that. Then let me put it out. No. Why? She turned on him, tears hot on her face. Why keep lighting it if she ain't coming back? His jaw worked, couldn't find words. She pulled free, stumbled back. You know what the worst part is? Her voice came out raw. I started to care about you, about this place. About... She stopped, put a hand over her mouth. God, I'm so stupid. You ain't stupid. I am. I knew better. I knew there had to be a reason. Nobody just lets people stay. There's always a price. She laughed, bitter. I just thought maybe this time the price was something I could pay. She went to the door. Outside, the wind had picked up, dust devils spinning in the yard. Storm building west, the sky going yellow-gray. Alma, don't. There's a storm coming. Good. She stepped off the porch. Maybe it'll clean me off this place. You got nowhere to go. Had nowhere when I got here. At least now I know better than to think nowhere can turn into somewhere. She walked into the yard, toward the desert. No direction, no plan. Behind her, Silas stood on the porch, one hand on the doorframe. Maybe you're mine, he said. She stopped, turned back. What? You said I'm trying to save her through you. His voice came out quiet, wrecked. Maybe you're right. Or maybe you're trying to save yourself through me too. Maybe we're both just broken people looking for a reason not to quit. The wind pulled at her hair, her jacket. Don't make this about me needing you, she said. This is about you using me. Ain't that the same thing? She stared at him, hated that he might be right, turned away. The storm hit the horizon, wall of dust rolling toward them. She walked into it. Silas watched her go, lamp still burning behind him in the window, the door still open. He didn't follow, didn't close the door, just stood there as the dust swallowed her, wondering if this was what he deserved, to watch someone walk into the dark and not come back again. The wind screamed louder than any word he could have said. The storm lasted 3 hours, but Silas didn't go after her until sunrise, because deep down, he'd been waiting 3 years for someone to walk into the dark and not come back. He sat in the cabin with the lamp burning, door open, dust blowing in across the floor. Told himself she was fine, she'd survived worse. She knew how to find shelter, how to wait out weather, how to keep moving when stopping meant dying. Told himself she'd done this before, walked away from places, from people who tried to hold her. Told himself it was better this way. His hands shook anyway. He looked at them, rope-scarred, work broken, the same hands that had cut Rebecca down and carried her inside, and laid her on this table, and realized too, late, that all the strength in the world didn't matter if he didn't use it when it counted. The coffee cup sat in front of him, just one. He hadn't poured two, first morning in 3 years. The ghost was gone, and he'd driven the living one away. And now the silence in the cabin felt like what he deserved, permanent, final, earned. The storm screamed outside. He didn't move. Dawn broke, red and angry. Dust still hanging in the air, but the wind died. Silas stood, put on his hat, walked out. Found her 3 miles east at Grey Wolf's trading post, sitting against the adobe wall, soaked through from the rain that had come after the dust, shivering, staring at nothing. Grey Wolf sat on his porch, watching her. Looked up when Silas approached. She won't come inside. Silas stopped 10 feet away. She hurt? Body's fine. Alma didn't look at him, didn't move. Just sat there, with her arms wrapped around herself, hair plastered to her face, dress mud-stained and torn at the hem. Alma, nothing. You need to come in. Get dry. Don't. First word, flat and dead. You're gonna get sick. Good. Silas took a step closer. I'm sorry. For what? She still wouldn't look at him. You're right. I knew what this was. I just forgot for a minute. That ain't, it is. She finally turned her head, and her eyes were empty in a way that scared him more than anger would have. You got a dead daughter you couldn't save? I got a body that stopped being mine when I was 12. We both thought we could fix that by fixing each other. But you can't fix people, Silas. You can just use them up and move on. I wasn't using you. Weren't you? She laughed, sharp and broken. That room, those dresses, that lamp, every goddamn thing in that house is a shrine to a girl who ain't coming back. And I was stupid enough to think maybe I could live there without becoming her. Grey Wolf stood. Come inside, child. I ain't a child. Alma's voice cracked. I ain't been a child since the first time my uncle... She stopped, swallowed, started again. I ain't been anything worth calling a child in 7 years. The air went still. Silas's face changed. What? You heard me. Alma... I was 12. She said it flat, no emotion, like stating facts about the weather. My uncle, he said I was pretty. Said I reminded him of my mama. Said... Her voice broke. She shoved it down hard. Said a lot of things. And when I told my aunt, she said I was lying. That I wanted attention. That girls like me made up stories. Silas felt something crack open in his chest. She sent me to town, to work at the hotel. Alma's hands curled into fist. I learned real fast what work at the hotel meant for a 12-year-old girl nobody believed. Jesus Christ. Ain't no Jesus in it. She looked at him finally, and her eyes were full of something worse than hate. Resignation. There's just people who take and people who get took. And I've been getting took so long I forgot what it felt like to just exist without owing somebody something. Grey Wolf came down from the porch, slow and careful. Sat on the ground beside her, not touching, just present. Then you showed up, Silas said quiet. At my door. Yeah. Alma wiped her face with the back of her hand. And you opened it, and I thought, God, I'm so stupid. I thought maybe this time it was real. That maybe someone saw me and not just... She couldn't finish. Not just what you could do for them, Grey Wolf finished soft. She nodded. Silas sat down hard on the ground, put his head in his hands. I would have believed you, he said. You didn't believe your own daughter. The truth landed like a gunshot. I know. His voice came out wrecked. I know I didn't. Silence. Just wind and breathing. She told me a ranch hand was bothering her, Silas said to the ground. Showed me bruises on her arm. Said he'd cornered her in the tack room. Said things, put his hands... He stopped, made himself continue. I told her she was imagining things. That boy's tease. That she needed to stop being so sensitive. Alma went very still. I fired him after, Silas continued, after she died. Gave him 10 minutes to get off my land. But I never told him why. Never made him answer for it. Just made him gone and thought that would fix it. It didn't. No. He looked up finally, eyes red. It didn't fix nothing. She was already dead, and I had to live knowing the last thing I did was call her a liar. Grey Wolf's hand moved to Alma's shoulder, gentle. The last thing she heard from me was, stop making up stories. Silas's voice broke completely. And then she walked into that barn, and I found her an hour later, and the whole time I kept thinking if I'd just listened, if I'd just believed her. You can't go back, Alma whispered. I know. You can't fix it. I know that too. They sat in the ruins of their confessions. So you tried to fix it with me instead, Alma said. Maybe, at first. Silas looked at her. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about her and started being about you. About this person who showed up at my door, already broken and still standing. Still breathing. Still, he stopped. You're the bravest person I ever met, Alma. And I'm sorry I made you think you had to be Rebecca to matter. I ain't brave. I'm just still alive, 'cause I'm too scared to quit. That's what brave is. She shook her head. Brave is believing someone when they tell you they're hurting. You know how to do that now? The question hung there. Yeah, Silas said. I do. How do I know that's true? 'Cause I'm sitting here listening instead of telling you you're wrong. Alma's jaw worked. Tears came hard and fast, silent, just streaming down her face while she stared at the horizon. Grey Wolf stood, went inside, came back with blankets, wrapped one around her shoulders without a word. I'm pregnant, Alma said. Silas went still. 2 months, maybe 3, don't know whose. She said it like a confession and a challenge, both. Could be a lot of people's. Okay. Okay? She turned on him. That's all you gotta say? What do you want me to say? I don't know. That it's. She couldn't find the words for what she expected. Judgment. Disgust. Distance. It's a baby, Silas said simple. And it's yours. That's all that matters. Something in her face crumpled. You mean that? Yeah. And why? 'Cause you didn't choose what happened to you, but you get to choose what happens next. She pulled the blanket tighter. I don't know how to be a mother. I don't even know how to be a person. Neither do I, but we're both still here trying. Grey Wolf sat back down, poured tea from his thermos into a tin cup, handed it to Alma. She is not Rebecca, he said to Silas, and you are not trying to save your daughter. You are trying to become the man who would have saved her. Silas's breath caught. That is not the same thing, Grey Wolf continued. One is selfish, the other is... He paused. The other is called growing. But I'm still using her, Silas said, to become that man. Yes. Grey Wolf looked at Alma. And she is using you to become someone who believes she deserves a door that stays open. And Alma wiped her eyes. That don't make it right. No, but it makes it honest. Grey Wolf sipped his own tea. Better to use each other toward healing than use each other toward destruction. They sat in silence. The sun climbed higher, burned the last moisture from the ground. I can't go back there, Alma said finally. To that house. To that room. I'll close it, Silas said. The room. Should have done it 3 years ago. Closing it won't make her gone. No. But maybe it'll make space for you to be you, he looked at her. If you want to come back. I don't know what I want. That's okay. You can figure it out at Grey Wolf's, or back at the ranch, or on the road, wherever you need. You'd let me leave? I'd hate it, but yeah. She processed that. First time someone had offered her a choice with no strings. The lamp, she said. You gonna keep lighting it? Silas thought about it. Long beat. Yeah, but not for her anymore. Then for what? For hope, I guess, that tomorrow might be different than yesterday. Alma looked at the horizon where she'd walked into the storm. That's a stupid reason to light a lamp. Probably. But it's better than lighting it for ghosts. Yeah. She stood slowly, bones aching, body exhausted. I need time. Take it. I might not come back. I know. She looked at him sitting there in the dirt, broken open and honest in a way that cost him everything. You really would have believed me? She asked. If I'd told you what happened when I first got there. Yeah. How do I know? 'Cause you just told me, and I'm still here. That landed different than she expected. Softer. True. She turned to Grey Wolf. Can I stay here? For a bit? The door is always open. She nodded, went inside. Left Silas sitting in the dirt outside, watching the place where she'd disappeared, wondering if mercy always had to hurt this much to mean anything. Grey Wolf sat beside him. She'll come back, the old man said. You don't know that. No, but you'll keep the lamp lit either way. Yeah. Then you've already learned what you needed to learn. Silas stood, dusted off, looked at the trading post. What's that? That love is not about possession. It's about witness. Grey Wolf looked at him. You finally learned to witness instead of save. Silas walked back to his ranch alone, the sun mean on his back, the desert offering no comfort. The house was empty, the door was still open, the lamp was cold. He lit it anyway. Alma stayed at Grey Wolf's for 2 days, and Silas went back to his ranch alone, where the only sound left was the lamp burning like a question nobody could answer. Day 16. Silas woke in the empty cabin, poured 1 cup of coffee, sat at the table in the chair he'd always used. The other chair sat empty, Rebecca's chair, Alma's chair, nobody's chair now. He worked until his body screamed. Mended fence that didn't need mending, mucked stalls already clean, hauled water the horse didn't need yet. Anything to keep his hands busy and his head quiet. Didn't work. By noon, he was sitting on the porch, staring at nothing, sweat-soaked and no closer to peace. The barn door hung half open like it always did. He'd stopped being able to close it all the way 3 years ago. Something in the mechanism broke the day he cut Rebecca down, or maybe something in him broke, and he just blamed the door. He looked at it now. Thought about Rebecca walking through it that last morning. Thought about the rope she'd found, the beam she'd chosen, the hour he'd wasted drinking coffee and reading the newspaper while she... He stood up fast, walked inside, stood in front of the closed door to her room. Hadn't opened it since Alma had found it 2 weeks ago. Before that, hadn't opened it in 3 years except to make sure everything stayed perfect, stayed exactly like she'd left it. A shrine. Alma was right. He turned the handle. The room smelled like dust and time stopped. Her quilt, her books, Her drawing on the wall, the ranch, the lamp in the window, her childish signature in the corner. He stepped in, sat on the edge of her bed. "I'm sorry," he said to the empty room. Silence. "I know that don't fix nothing, the wind outside. But if I can help her, would that count?" No answer. There never was. Didn't think so. He looked at the drawing on the wall. Rebecca had made it the summer before she died, back when she still drew things, still smiled, still believed her father would protect her from anything. He stood, unpinned it careful, folded it once, twice, put it in his shirt pocket, looked at the rest of the room, left it. Didn't take anything else. Didn't close the door either. Just left it open, not a shrine anymore, just a room where a girl used to live. Memory, not monument. Letting go didn't mean forgetting. It just meant making space for something else. He walked out to the porch, sat, pulled out the drawing, unfolded it, looked at the lamp she'd sketched in the window. "You were right," he said to the paper. "About the ranch hand, about everything. And I'm sorry I didn't—" His voice broke. He folded the drawing back up, put it away. Night came. He lit the lamp, sat on the porch watching it burn. "I can't save you," he said to the flame. "But maybe I can stand here for someone else. That gonna be enough?" The lamp flickered. He took that as whatever answer he was going to get. 3 miles east, Alma sat outside Grey Wolf's trading post watching the stars appear one by one like puncture wounds in the sky. Grey Wolf brought tea, sat beside her, didn't speak for 20 minutes. Finally, "You're thinking about going back. Not a question. Maybe. Or going away. Maybe that too. And the road runs both directions." She picked at a thread on her dress. "Which one would you take? The one that leads toward life instead of away from death? What if I can't tell the difference?" Grey Wolf sipped his tea. "Can you see his lamp from here?" She looked west. In the distance, barely visible through the heat shimmer and dust, a tiny point of light. "Yeah." "Does he know you're watching?" "No." "But he lit it anyway." She went quiet. "That's the difference," Grey Wolf said. "Death is what you run from. Life is what burns for you even when you're not looking." She put her hand on her stomach. Small gesture, unconscious. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Any of it. Stay. Leave. Be someone's—" She stopped. "Be a mother. Be a person somebody wants. He doesn't want you to be anything. He wants you to be." "That don't make sense?" "Yes, it does. You're just scared to believe it." She pulled her knees up. "He lights that lamp every night." "Yes." "For hope," he said. "Hope is another word for faith when you're too tired to pray." The stars wheeled. Somewhere a coyote called and another answered. "What does the silence tell you?" Grey Wolf asked. Alma listened. Wind, distant animal sounds, her own breathing. "That I should go." "Where?" "Away. Before it gets worse." "Worse than what?" She didn't answer for a long time. "Before I start to think I could stay," she finally said. "And that scares you?" "Yeah." "Why?" "Because everybody I ever stayed with," her voice caught, "they always took something. And I'm tired of being took from, what if he's not taking? What if he's offering?" "Offering what?" "A door that stays open." And she shook her head. "Doors close. They always do." "Not that one. He nailed it open 3 years ago." Grey Wolf looked at her. After Rebecca died, he couldn't shut it. Thought maybe she'd come back through if he left it wide enough. "That's crazy." "Yes. But grief makes us do crazy things." He paused. "So does hope. Hope's just another way to get hurt." "Well, perhaps. But without it, what's left?" She had no answer for that. They sat in silence until the tea went cold. Day 17, last day before everything changed. Silas stood in his barn looking at the beam where he'd found Rebecca. Hadn't been able to look at it in 3 years. Couldn't look away now. "I couldn't save you," he said to the shadows. "But I can stand here. For her. For whoever needs it. That gonna have to be enough." The barn gave no answer. He walked out into the sun. Brutal, unforgiving, no winter coming to wash anything clean. Just heat and dust and the same sky that had watched him fail and would watch whatever came next. He could live with that. Had to. At Grey Wolf's, Alma stood at the edge of the road. 2 directions. West toward the ranch, the lamp, the man who'd opened a door and hadn't closed it even when she'd walked away. East toward nothing, toward the same empty survival she'd known for 7 years. Grey Wolf came out, stood beside her. "You gonna tell me which way to go?" she asked. "No." "Why not?" "Because for the first time in your life, you get to choose. Not because someone's chasing you. Not because you're running. Just because you can." She looked west. The lamp would be burning tonight, tomorrow night, every night, whether she was there to see it or not. "You think he can forgive himself?" she asked. Not if you leave. That ain't fair. No. But mercy never is. She turned that over. Looked at her hands. Work rough now from 2 weeks at the ranch. Strong enough to hold things instead of just letting go. What if I stay and it goes bad? Then you leave. The door stays open both ways. And if I leave now, then the door stays open. He'll light that lamp every night, hoping you come back. Question is, can you live with that, knowing someone's waiting and you never showed up? She thought about all the times she'd waited for someone to come for her. Hotels, back rooms, strange towns. Nobody ever came. Now someone was waiting for her, not for what she could do, just for her to walk through a door that would stay open whether she did or not. The choice made her dizzy. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? That I'll go back and it'll be real. That the lamp's for me. That the door's for me. That her hand went to her stomach. That maybe I could be someone's mother if someone else is willing to be. She couldn't finish. A father? Grey Wolf offered gently. He ain't the father. No, but he could be a father anyway. If you let him. She closed her eyes. 2 roads, 2 futures, 1 choice. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. You're just afraid to admit it. She looked west again, the tiny light in the distance. Made her decision, didn't say it out loud, but Grey Wolf saw it in her shoulders. The way they settled. When? He asked. Tomorrow? You sure? No, but I'm tired of being sure. Sure ain't never done me any favors. He nodded, went inside. She stood on the road as the sun set, one hand on her stomach, watching the direction she'd run from and the direction she was about to walk toward. Either way, she'd be walking instead of running. That was something. That night, Silas lit the lamp, sat on the porch, wondered if this was what faith looked like. Doing the thing that mattered, even when nobody was watching, even when it might not make a difference, even when you had no idea if anyone was coming back. Probably. The lamp burned, the door stayed open. He stayed on the porch until dawn. 3 miles away, Alma watched that distant light until she fell asleep. Tomorrow would tell. When Sheriff Tanner rode up to Silas's ranch with 3 townsmen and a warrant, Alma was already standing on the porch beside him, and for the first time in 3 years, Silas McKenna chose not to stand alone. Dawn, day 18. Silas on the porch with his coffee, watching the sun bleed red across the horizon. Hadn't slept. Didn't matter. He saw her when she was still half a mile out. Small figure walking across the hard pan, no horse, no bag, just her in the morning light and the choice she'd made. He didn't move, didn't call out, just watched her come. She reached the porch, stopped at the bottom step. They looked at each other. No words. She climbed the steps, stood beside him. He went inside, poured 2 cups of coffee, came back out, set both on the porch rail. She took one. They drank in silence, watching the sun climb, the heat already building even though it was barely past dawn. You came back, he said finally. Yeah. Why? She looked at the lamp in the window, cold now in daylight but still there, still waiting for evening to matter again. Figured you'd burn that lamp till you ran out of oil. Small pause. Someone's got to tell you when to stop. The corner of his mouth almost smiled. Ain't nobody ever been able to tell me much. Then I guess we're both stubborn. They finished their coffee. She set her cup down. I got conditions. Okay. I ain't sleeping in that room. Not her room. I'll move her things. You can have the main room. I'll take the barn. You don't gotta. I do. Ain't proper otherwise. And since when do you care about proper? Since you came back and I don't want to give anybody reason to make you leave again. She processed that. What's the second condition? Didn't say there was. There's always more than one. He looked at her. What is it? You gotta stop saying sorry every time you look at me. I ain't her and you ain't trying to make me her. We both know that now. So we gotta just be who we are. Deal. That's it? Just deal? What else you want me to say? I don't know. Most men got more words than that when a woman shows up. I ain't most men, and you ain't most women. She almost smiled. No, I guess we ain't. They stood there, 2 broken people on a porch in the middle of nowhere, no past to fix and no future guaranteed, just this moment and the choice to stand in it, together. Then Silas saw the dust. 4 riders coming fast from town. Alma. She turned, saw them, went rigid. Get inside. No. Alma. No. She planted her feet. I'm done hiding. The riders came into the yard. Sheriff Tanner in front, 3 townsmen behind, men Silas recognized from church, from the general store, from the careful respectability of a town, trying to pretend it was more civilized than it was. Tanner dismounted, looked at Alma, looked at Silas. Silas. Jacob. Heard your hired hand came back. News travels fast. When it's the wrong kind of news, it does. Tanner took off his hat, wiped his forehead. You know why I'm here. Reckon I do. And the answer's no. Didn't ask a question yet. Don't need to. Answer's still no. Tanner sighed, pulled a paper from his vest. Got a petition here, signed by 18 families, good families, church-going families. They're concerned about, he looked at Alma, about the situation. What situation? Silas's voice went flat and cold. A young woman of uncertain character living on a ranch with a single man. Folks are worried about their daughters. About what kind of example? Stop. Silas stepped forward. You came here to tell me to make her leave. I came here to ask you to do the right thing. I am doing the right thing. Silas, be reasonable. You know what people are saying. Don't care what people say. One of the townsmen spoke up. Miller, the banker, your daughter's barely cold 3 years and you're... Finish that sentence, Silas said quiet. I dare you. Miller shut up. Sheriff cleared his throat. Silas, I know you think you're helping her, but I am helping her. By letting her ruin your reputation? By making yourself a laughingstock? By giving her a place that don't ask for anything she ain't willing to give. Silas looked at each man, which is more than any of you ever did. Tanner's jaw tightened. We're trying to protect this community. From what? A girl who needed help? From scandal. From... He lowered his voice. Silas, she's with child. Silence. Alma's hand moved to her stomach, unconscious, protective. I know, Silas said. Then you know what that means, what people will think. Let them think what they want. Is it yours? Miller asked Blunt. Alma flinched. Silas's whole body went still, dangerous still. That your business? It's the town's business when it ain't nobody's business but hers. Tanner stepped closer. Silas, think about this. If that baby's not yours, if she came here already, if she's what people say she is, you're ruining yourself for nothing.